So, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, you've decided to go higher. You are a woman who has run, won, and governed on the state level, run, won, governed in the House of Representatives. And as we enter into the midterms, the 2026 election cycle, you are running for U.S. Senate. So tell us a little bit about why now, and why the U.S. Senate.
I thought about it before. I wanted to do it before, and then decided after really studying the landscape that I wouldn't do it. I would stay in the House. But now I know that I am very ready, very prepared, have done the work, have the relationships in the House and the Senate, that I know I can hit the ground running when I get to the Senate. And this president will still be the president. This administration will still be the administration. And I really believe that we need someone who has done the work, that knows the work, that has the relationships, that has a list of accomplishments, that can, again, hit the ground running and get stuff done. I'll use that word and get things done. But it's always been on my mind for a while, but I didn't think I was going to have the opportunity, quite frankly.
And you've spoke to that just now, but you in particular have said we can't afford someone unprepared in the Senate right now. What does that mean when you translate about day one? What does that look like for you?
Well, day one, I know that I can, I have to see what committees I'm going to be on, but I also know that I have legislation in the House that I haven't been able to get passed, and I can bring that legislation to the Senate, already prepared, ready to be filed, and I know there are people in the House that would help me carry it in the House, if it's the right setup, as far as Democrat, Republican, and those kind of things. And I think, I'm more prepared as far as, what committees and things like that. I know a seniority, not that I can walk in and say, hey, I want that, but I have that. I have relationships, or a lot of relationships, as a matter of fact, especially since so many of my colleagues in the House, went to the Senate, and people helping me, right now, people I've worked with around healthcare, around gun violence prevention, things that, have meant the world to me around workforce development.
Yeah, you shared a little bit about some of the issues that you've led on in a recent conversation we had with you: gun violence prevention, healthcare access, small business support. What would be your top priorities? Now, I will do this if you set aside the politics of the moment. If you were able to spend your first 100 days in the Senate, what do you think are the issues you've heard from the constituents of Illinois? Right, you have been crisscrossing that state in recent months. What would be kind of your top three priorities for that first 100 days?
Well, I mean, I know about the politics of today, but affordability is still, a big question. But definitely, I've done so much work around healthcare. Healthcare would be, one of my big pushes. In the richest country in the history of the world, too many people still are broken by our healthcare system. There's no reason why everyone should not have healthcare. And when I say that, I mean quality, affordable, and accessible. Because my district, urban, suburban, and rural, I have people that live in healthcare deserts, that live in maternal care deserts. One of my farmers, his wife was having a baby. He had to drive 60 miles to the hospital, and they said, hey, she's not ready. He drove 60 miles back. He went into the field. 30 minutes later, she was ready. He drove 60 miles back. He said he drove 100 miles an hour, to get her there. And just so we need to make sure it's affordable, and accessible, and of course, quality health care, because that's something I would still push. If you don't have your health, you don't have a lot of things. So that would be something. When I travel Illinois, people don't always talk about crime per se, but gun violence prevention, which I do consider a public health issue, would still be one of the things that I push for. But also, wow, three things is hard, because housing is an issue, economic opportunity is an issue, child care. People are paying more in child care sometimes than they're paying in rent. So just, those things. And then the other thing is, I would say, just the corruption in government. You know, I would be interested in closing as many loopholes as we can that I feel like this administration, you know, took advantage of, that maybe we never thought, Democrat or Republican, that someone, he's making money, you know, off of his presidency, that he's breaking laws and just different things like that. Like when I run for office, there's things I have to fill out and do, and he's the president. It seems like he should have to do, you know, like, do we know his taxes yet? You know, like his economic statement, those things. There's things we definitely need to codify and to cut back on what has been really a corrupt administration.
Now, share a little bit about, I know you are looking to build and have been building a cross-section, intersectional, multicultural coalition to support your campaign, not only in Illinois, but across this country. You spend a lot of time talking about you being someone that is you know, a coalition builder, that you have great relationships, which is important when you're in a legislative body. So share a little bit about your campaign and how you are bringing women and communities of color, rural, suburban, and urban together in support of you.
Sure. Well, you know, I feel like when you do your job, that is a form of campaigning also, because I will tell you, there are Republicans in my district that are telling people to pull a Democratic slip, because once you're in my district, whether you voted for me or not, I feel like my job is to lift all boats, because I feel like we all do better when we all do better. That if you're doing well, you know, it's okay with you if I'm doing well, you know, or and that kind of thing. So I'm building on, you know, what my district already is, from, you know, low income working class families to some wealthy. My district is black, white, and some are growing Latino population. So I'm building on, you know, those constituencies, you know, that I already have. And again, work a lot in the healthcare arena. So working, you know, with those groups of people, but just with progressives, I feel like, you know, I hate to say the prominent candidates, but that's how people put it. But I know I'm the most progressive person in the race. I'm a pragmatic progressive. I want to get things done, you know, but so working, you know, with the progressives in the race. But also, it's funny because people will say, are you in the progressive caucus? No, you're in the New Dem caucus. But it's just somehow I can walk that fine line, I guess, you know. I have a really good voting record with unions, and so we'll see, you know, how they come out. But, you know, I have walked on picket lines, demonstrated, you know, worked on legislation. So just really people that I've dealt with, which is a lot of different people. Like I said, farmers, unions, teachers, social workers, you know, wealthy people, working families, just trying to, you know, go back to people that, frankly, you know, I've worked with a lot already, and they've seen my work, and they know that I'm, you know, as I say, I'm a workhorse, not a show horse. So going back to those people and saying, you know, can you help me out? And even passing petitions in Illinois, I had 187 different people pass my petitions through the whole state. And the other thing is, you know, I came to Illinois from New York, and I moved to Central Illinois. So there's a feeling that I have that understanding that everybody's not from Chicago, even though I know the votes are, you know, from up there, but they know that I see them and I hear them also. And as party chair, I traveled the state. I didn't leave a stone unturned, and I stayed in touch with, you know, those folks also. So people know my record. I just need to, you know, keep getting my story out.
Yeah. And what's exciting about this U.S. Senate race in particular is Illinois continues to make history, right? Sent the first black woman to the U.S. Senate. Someone was like, who's this person named Barack Obama in the U.S. Senate who became the first black president? and you're entering into a season where we're talking about multiple black women serving in the U.S. Senate at the same time, right? And it's not just going, we were like, we just want one. Now we have two, and you're looking at a cycle where it could be one or two more.
Right.
So share a little bit about just like the historic nature of how Illinois, is one of the center points of black leadership in the U.S. Senate. And for the final note, what does that mean, and what do you need from supporters or those who are learning a little more about this race? What do you need to be able to move forward to make the history to be able to then continue to do the policy?
Well, first of all, I don't have to tell you, representation matters. And no, it's not good enough that there's one black female or two black females, or, we tease the Senate, Senator Booker and Warnock, oh, now you guys have your own little caucus. But no, we need more. CBC is not monolithic. We represent all over and, have different views. There's some things, of course, we're 10 toes down on altogether, but we represent different districts. And when I think about the two women that are there now, they're both East Coast donors, and even though Lisa Blunt Rochester and I used to talk about being urban, suburban, and rural, but it would be great to have a Midwest voice, and talk about what's going on in the Midwest. And Illinois is an oasis in so many ways when you think about who we're surrounded by, when it comes to reproductive freedom and rights, when it comes to gun safety, just so many things, LGBTQ, we're on the forefront.